in a class of its own is a helicopter that deploys military rescue missions across the Arctic.
It is quite incredible that we can fly this aircraft in these extreme conditions, especially in the winter. It is fairly rare for a helicopter to have these capabilities.
When fires overpower an Arctic landscape, there's only one machine willing to take on Mother Nature.
What's happened over the last 10 years is the rains have shortened. Our elders were telling us for years that when a fire does come, it's going to come too hard and fast.
Access to one of the highest peaks in the Swiss Alps is only possible by train, and keeping it on the rails year-round is a snowblower with unrivaled power.
It's always a little adventure. Weather conditions change so fast here in the Alps.
Where frozen wilderness exists, where snow and ice are relentless, and where exposure to the elements is a matter of life and death. Human survival depends on extreme ice machines. The Canadian Armed Forces are responsible for protecting the country's people, land, and sea. And in special circumstances, they're called in for emergency search and rescue missions. The Joint Rescue Coordination Center in Halifax, Nova Scotia, is home to the 413 Transport and Rescue Squadron, one of the leaders in search and rescue efforts across the country. This team oversees an enormous area of 2 million square miles, stretching from the U.S. border in the south to the high Arctic in the north and half of the Atlantic Ocean. With 80% of their territory over treacherous open water, the crew requires a specialized aircraft to get them where they need to go. The CH-149 Cormorant. A triple-engine, 6,000 horsepower all-weather helicopter. Equipped with dual hoisting capability, rear ramp access, and oversized cargo hold able to carry 12 stretchers and 11,000 pounds. The Cormorant conducts an average of 1,000 search and rescue missions per year, coming to the relief of those in need, from capsized vessels and downed aircraft to stranded climbers and lost hikers.
Cormorant's well equipped for SAR missions, specifically in Canada, because of its all-weather capabilities.
Captain Jeff Powell has been flying the Cormorant since 2005. Weather is a constant concern during search and rescue missions.
We're taxiing park bridge. Ready? Yep. Engaged.
There are several dangers flying in winter. Icing is a huge factor. The ice can increase the weight of the helicopter. The dangers of ice build up on the rotors. It will destroy the lift of the rotor, and the main rotors is what allows the helicopter to fly, like a wing of a plane.
To deal with extreme weather conditions head-on, the Cormorant has extensive anti-icing and de-icing controls. These allow the helicopter to operate in temperatures approaching -60 degrees. The Rain Ice Protection Unit system, referred to as the RIPU, monitors all this.
Here's our RIPU box. That's the brains of this whole outfit for the main rotor blade de-ice and for the tail rotor blade de-ice.
Servicing Crew Chief Robert Weiland has worked on the Cormorant helicopters since they first arrived at the Greenwood base in 2002.
On the main rotor blades, as you can see, it's a fair size. The portion that's heated on the main rotor blades, as you can see, is all through the silver here, right? They're all electrically heated. What'll happen, the ice will build up, the RIPU will send a signal out and displace the icing that gets onto it. The RIPU controls not only the main rotor, RIPU also controls the tail rotor. It's automatic. She'll build up with ice, and then she'll heat up and blow the ice off before it even really builds up.
It's the anti-icing and de-icing capabilities that make it possible for the Cormorant to be a reliable aircraft for emergency rescues far out at sea, able to travel over 600 miles without refueling.
It is quite incredible that we can fly this aircraft, the Cormorant, in these extreme conditions, especially in the winter. It is fairly rare for a helicopter to have these capabilities.
Today, as the Cormorant leaves the base, the weather is cool and damp.
We've actually just received a call from JRCC of a possible plane crash.
The 413 Squadron engages in regular training exercises to keep them prepared for any situation. Today's simulation will have the team facing a very real threat, similar to a true-to-life emergency, where they have no idea what they'll find until they reach their destination.
All right, guys. Today's mission will be responding to a simulated aircraft overdue or missing aircraft, which has possibly crashed. There's an aircraft that's called in a mayday. We're not far off the search area, so guys, we're going to be prepped and ready for eyes right. Any questions?
Yeah, just color and size of plane.
Don't have any further details on that yet.
Check that.
We'll proceed on scene to search and hopefully locate the aircraft and provide assistance.
The 413 Squadron has to be prepared at a moment's notice to pilot the Cormorant wherever an emergency takes them. They also have to be ready for the unexpected when they get to their destination.
The most common missions are medical evacuations off of fishing vessels or cargo ships or cruise ships, missing overdue aircraft.
All right, guys, we'll call us in the search area right now. We're outside the zone.
And you have eyes left.
And eyes right. Eyes tail.
When the Cormorant's on duty, it's not only the blades and rotors that need to be monitored for ice buildup. In cold weather, it doesn't take long for moisture trapped in the air to quickly freeze to the body of the helicopter.
When we're flying through cloud or any kind of moisture in the air, as the super cold water droplets hit the airframe, they will freeze on contact, and it will start to accumulate.
The dangers of ice buildup on the airframe is the weight. It's the weight of the ice building up. As well, a danger is the ice shedding. So as the ice falls off the airframe, there's a concern of it contacting the tail rotor or ingesting into an engine.
Heating the key components of the aircraft to guarantee that ice does not build up on the helicopter is critical to the safety of the crew. Special attention is paid to ensure nothing impedes the pilot's line of sight.
Our windscreens have an anti-icing capability because our windscreens are the first thing that starts to ice up. We also have the ability to monitor the accretion rate, how much ice we're building up, how quickly it's building up, the type of ice it's building up.
Ice accretion, or buildup, is a serious issue. The aircraft is only meant to have 6 centimeters or 2.4 inches of ice buildup on its body before it must exit the area and allow the ice to melt away. Flight Engineer Corporal Ryan Hennessy has experienced ice accretion firsthand while out on missions in the Cormorant.
It's unnerving because it can accumulate very quickly, so you can get up to your 6 centimeters fairly fast, depending on the ice storm. You need to get out of it if you can. If you can't, it'll keep accumulating, and the weight of the helicopter is going to increase significantly and possibly bring the helicopter down.
With one eye on the ice buildup and the other on the ground, the squadron homes in on their target.
I got a red light, 11 o'clock low.
Yeah, check that, 11 o'clock low.
The go-to search and rescue vehicle for the Canadian Armed Forces is the Cormorant, an all-season helicopter that is called upon to brave treacherous weather, bringing aid to those in need. Ice accumulation is a constant concern, but thankfully, the Cormorant has built-in features to combat it. To monitor the accretion rate of ice on the aircraft, there are both electronic sensors and visual monitors available to the pilots.
There's an electronic ice accretion system. It's at the top of the helicopter there, the little black cylinder. So there's a laser and a little filament inside. It lets the weather through the very center of it, and it can tell you how much water per meter squared of accumulation you're getting. If the rotor anti-ice is set to auto, then it itself will take care of everything based on how much ice is, that little sensor says you're accumulating. This is your visual ice accretion monitor, so the pilot can look out the window, and this will tell you how many centimeters of ice has accumulated on the airframe itself, and then it'll tell you basically when you have to leave icing conditions.
Less than 2.4 inches is considered a safe amount of ice on the body of the helicopter, though it's been tested in flight with 7 inches of ice buildup.
And we've got a good hit from the emergency locator transmitter. Showing basically off our nose.
Luckily, they're flying below the cloud cover today, so ice buildup is minimal. Working as a unit, the crew searches the landscape for any sign of the missing aircraft and crew. Training exercises like this keep the team sharp in the life-threatening world of search and rescue.
Looking for obvious trail, obviously like a plane crash trail, fire, anything like that, anything suspicious.
We're on duty 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And with the search and rescue, there's no standard mission. Everyone is different, so we have a core set of skills that we practice. So when we arrive on scene, we have those core skills that we're very good at to be able to utilize and expand from.
I got a red light, 11 o'clock low. Yeah, check that, 11 o'clock low, mark flare. I can see what looks like a green plane crash.
The downed aircraft has been spotted. Captain Powell maneuvers the helicopter into position in order for the medical team to hoist down to the crash site.
The Cormorant is, despite its size and weight, is an extremely nimble and maneuverable helicopter. It's very comfortable to fly. As you can feel on a day like today, it's quite windy, quite bumpy out here, but it's given its size and the rotor system, it absorbs the turbulence quite well. It is extremely stable when we're in the hover. It's quite a joy to fly.
The 413 Squadron rescue technicians arrive at the scene of the simulated accident.
I see like an impalement, obviously impaled straight through him.
And begin to provide assistance to the crash victim.
Hey, can you able to walk?
No, I can't walk.
Captain Powell finds an opening in the tree line and lands a Cormorant.
That looks like a pretty decent place to land.
We are going to land right in there.
20, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Touching on the left. Touching right.
The Cormorant is a very large helicopter, weighing upwards of 35,000 pounds. It's very powerful. We can take quite a bit of fuel. We can be airborne for quite a length of time. Large cabin in the back, lots of room to work, and we have the ability to take a lot of people on here at one time. Given the anti-icing and de-icing capabilities of the helicopter, we're able to respond to virtually any mission, which is, for a helicopter, is fairly unique to be able to fly in the heavy icing type conditions in the winter.
So we're gonna put you on a backboard, we're gonna strap you down, and then we're gonna get you in a helicopter on your way to a hospital, okay?
Okay.
Any pain in your neck, anything like that?
No, sir.
Today's mission is a simulation, but these training exercises are essential for preparing the team for any scenario they may face in the field. The victim is stabilized, and the team is able to safely transport him back to the Cormorant where they administer first aid. With the injured crew members safely on board and attended to, Captain Powell pilots the helicopter back in the air.
Today's mission was successful. We were able to locate the emergency locator, which we homed to its position. We discovered it was indeed crashed. We inserted our rescue technicians into the crash scene where they provided the emergency medical assistance, after which we were able to extract the plane crash survivors and transport them to a local hospital for further treatment.
The entire 413 squadron, from the pilots to the people who maintain the helicopter, recognize that thanks to the Cormorant, they're able to save lives. On every mission, it proves time and again that it is an extreme ice machine.
This is what I got into the military to do, and I was fortunate that I was able to do it. I take the heroes to where they need to go, and I get them home safely.
I've been lucky enough in my career. I've been here 18 years with the Cormorant, all with 413, saving lives with the air crew. Man, you can't have a better feeling than that.
When wildfires tear through an indigenous town, those protecting it turn to the only fire truck that can handle the icy conditions of a northern winter.
Our elders were telling us for years that when a fire does come, it's going to come too hard and fast.
The countryside that borders high-level Alberta is quiet and peaceful today. But this area is notorious for its out-of-control wildfires. In 2019, wildfires were burning across the province, threatening the lives of thousands of residents and forcing their evacuation. For the Indigenous people of Beaver First Nation, it was an environmental disaster, but it wasn't a surprise. The region around High Level had long been suffering from drought. Beaver First Nation was anticipating the possibility of a serious wildfire in the area and custom designed a machine specifically for firefighting in this wilderness. A Nodwell 240. A multi-purpose two-track vehicle with walking beam suspension, capable of carrying a payload of 32,000 pounds, easily able to navigate through tricky terrain, including the deep snow and icy conditions of a northern Alberta winter. Originally intended for forest and oil company use, Beaver First Nation had their Nodwell 240 custom built for firefighting. To help battle fires in the backwoods, it has a pump and hose fittings all attached to a custom-built 1,500-gallon water tank affixed to the back deck that no other model offers. With its wide tracks and powerful torque, it's a vehicle that can easily access areas of deep snow, icy inclines, and frozen marshlands off limits to traditional fire trucks. Looking after the community and the land is Chief Trevor Mercredy's responsibility.
The land that we live on is mostly marsh. It was mostly what we called muskeg, and what's happened over the last 10 years is the rains have shortened and the muskeg is now dry.
For Chief Trevor Mercredy, the addition of the Nodwell came at exactly the right time.
Our elders were telling us for years that when a fire does come, it's going to come too hard and fast. That's one of the reasons why we were after fire suppression equipment.
In Beaver First Nation, figured we needed something to fight these fires. Kind of asked around other contractors in the area and what kind of machine we should get, and they recommended a Nodwell 240 because it will just a medium-sized machine and its carrying ability.
Fire Chief Riel Chonkale is the Public Works Director for Beaver First Nation and knew that the Nodwell 240 would be able to do a better job combating the flames than any traditional firefighting vehicles.
It's specifically designed for forestry. It's pretty swampy and a lot of muskeg, so this machine will float over all that without sinking. And we got a big water tank to feed the firefighters to help put out these fires.
The wildfire came through hard and fast and left a trail of devastation in its wake.
It just started out with about a 20-hectare fire, and then it grew into this massive, over 350,000 hectare fire that burned pretty much all of our traditional area around here.
Despite the fire's extensive environmental damage, none of the members of the Beaver First Nation lost their homes or their lives, thanks in part to the Nodwell 240. It's the Nodwell's power and ability to handle diverse ground, from mud and marshy swamps to thick ice and deep snow, that make it the perfect vehicle for hard-to-access areas in the north.
Well, it made hauling water easier to firefighters out in the bush where there's no water. This machine would go load up a couple miles, like 3-4 miles away, and then haul it out to the firefighters right on the fire line. Our Nodwell was called out to duty fighting this massive wildfire. It fed all these firefighters with water. It never came home for 60 days.
The worst of the wildfires have been extinguished, but smaller fires still erupt from underground, even in the middle of winter.
Water's coming! Yeah, it's coming good. The water from the fire truck's gonna fill the tank on Nodwell.
Today, led by Fire Chief Melton Lizotte, the crew is preparing the Nodwell 240 to fight a wildfire in the woods that continues smoldering.
The fires are still burning in the peat moss, some at 10 feet deep, and we have to be ready at any time for a call out. Is it full? Yeah, it's full now, it's good.
The Nodwell 240 is ready to head into the woods and take on the blaze. Traditional fire trucks don't typically face tree-covered terrain, steep inclines, or icy water on the way to blast a blaze. That kind of route calls for extreme engineering.
I've never seen a Nodwell get stuck before in my life. Quite a machine.
After 10 years of drought, Beaver First Nation elders warned that wildfires were coming. Much is owed to this innovative fire truck for making life and land in the north safer. The Nodwell 240 is perfectly designed for this purpose. Saddled with 12,500 pounds of water on its back, the frozen wilderness proves no match for this extreme ice machine. Powering through deep snow and over thick ice, the Nodwell is the only machine purposely built to take on these conditions.
He has high flotation tracks, pretty much made for going anywhere. It's got a 1,500-gallon water tank on it with a hopper on top for the choppers to dump water in.
Well, this fire has been burning all summer, winter, and a couple of smokes popped up, so we're gonna just go and put this one out. Ground fire it is.
The Nodwell is able to get where traditional firefighting vehicles can't, due primarily to its wide, flexible tracks.
Hey, the tracks here are pretty wide, so you won't sink anywhere. It'll handle any kind of weather, so summer, winter. The tank is removable, so we can haul materials out to isolated places if needed. It can handle a lot of weight.
The 12-foot tracks are 40 inches wide, allowing the machine to disperse its weight. It produces only 2 pounds per square inch of ground pressure with no payload, and 4.3 pounds per square inch with a payload of 15 tons. The track runs on a sprocket and wheel system. The diesel engine drives the rear track drive, which propels the vehicle in forward or reverse.
It's a hydrostatic drive with doesn't have the transmission in there, so it's going to heat up when you're driving. Got the drive in the front and also in the rear.
The rear track drive engages the teeth of the drive sprocket by grabbing the steel cleat bars, called grouser bars, bolted to the track belt. The 4 black rubber wheels help distribute the load from the vehicle to the ground through the surface of the track. The front sprocket provides track tension and an approach angle to aid in climbing. The tracks allow the Nodwell to easily manage the icy terrain around high level in the winter and can tackle inclines as steep as 60 degrees.
It's pretty heavy, so it'll push over good-sized trees. It'll drive over anything, right? Or climb hills if needed, say for a rescue or anything like that.
Driver Greg Ashane has never had an issue piloting this impressive vehicle out in the backcountry.
This terrain is nothing for this Nodwell because it's got the wide tracks, or I would tell you tracks, and it's made for all kinds of terrain. I've never seen a Nodwell get stuck before in my life. Quite a machine.
It's got a 260 horsepower engine, 6.7 liter. 1,500 gallons is quite a bit of weight, and it'll be able to handle that no problem.
The crew has reached the fire and is preparing to put it out. This firefighting machine has a pump mounted on the tank to drive the water through the hoses and extinguish the flames. The team gets to the fire early when it's still small, but left unchecked, this small blaze could travel quickly, spreading to the dry, dead trees around it.
The most important thing about fighting fire is full extinguishment of your fire and the safety of your crew and members on the ground here with you.
Firefighter Dwight Loonskin was a part of the crew that helped put out the wildfires that were threatening Beaver First Nation.
Right now under the snow here, we got some fire going under there in the peat moss. It burns about 10 to 15 feet. Got to be ready for that in the spring when it really pops up here. The snow melts and when it warms up. Okay, this one's done here. Full extinguishment of this one.
With the help of the Nodwell 240, the crew was able to easily handle the fire. This ice machine performs masterfully every time, no matter how deep the fire runs or how high the flames go.
240 Nodwell is important for the future of Beaver First Nation because it's just the first piece of equipment that we're purchasing to build our capacity as a firefighting community. We want to be known as a firefighting community, and we want to be sure that the equipment is up to task. We plan to use it for many more years to come.
High in the Swiss Alps is a unique rail line that transports sports enthusiasts and scientists alike to one of the highest peaks in the mountain range. But faced with the treacherous conditions year-round, the train couldn't get its job done without this beast.
It's a very important machine, the snowblower. Maybe the most important machine. Yeah.
Tucked away in the glacial mountains of Switzerland's Bernese Alps is one of Europe's highest peaks, Jungfrau. The only thing more impressive than the majestic view is the science being studied there at the world-class observatory, the Sphinx, the highest elevated structure in the continent, and a wicked trek for experts looking to research astronomy, environmental study, and medicine. The railway station was built in 1912, and now it's the only way for nearly 1 million tourists, scientists, and local workers to access these peaks every year.
Final stop.
But with the extreme slopes, narrow tracks, and severe storms, it takes a one-of-a-kind machine to keep lines clear on this Bernese beast and ensure service starts on time. That machine is the Jungfrau snowblower. The Jungfrau snowblower is a custom-built Swiss snow-fighting beast, clearing snow up to 6 feet high and 11 feet wide. Only this machine, built on a century of history and innovation, can take on the curves and climate and clear the way to the top of Europe, allowing villagers, scientists, and spectators to make the journey of a lifetime. Wintertime in Kleine Scheidegg, Switzerland means one thing: tourist season. The area is home to many railways and Swiss vacation hotspots, but Jungfrau is a crown jewel.
The Jungfrau Railway is really important because it goes to the Jungfraujoch, which is top of Europe, so it's the highest railway station in Europe.
The railway's uninterrupted operation is key for communications head Catherine Nageli. Kleine Scheidegg has been a tourist attraction for almost 200 years, prompting rail construction in 1896.
It's a very important way, not only for tourists, it's also a very important way for scientists going up there, for goods getting up there, and it's very important for the village people here. They have companies like these, so they have work to do, so they don't go away to the cities, they stay in the valley and they find work here.
Every day, come ice or snow, service must start at 8 a.m. But keeping the line open and operational is no easy task. Sitting between 6,700 and 11,000 feet, the Jungfrau Railway is exposed to some of the harshest conditions the Swiss Alps have to offer. Reaching temperatures of minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, wind speeds of 120 miles an hour, and snowfall building upwards of 6 feet high. This railway can easily be overrun by winter weather, stopping service in its tracks. Jungfrau's 28-ton snowblower is a custom-built solution to conquer this rugged and remote mountain pass, and a favorite of the person who oversees all the vehicles on this railroad, Marcus Balmer.
You have on both sides a snowblower. You can drive both ways. You have two cogwheels. You go up to over 3,000 meters. You have the unique three-phase power system.
The unit is made of two main components: an electrically powered locomotive to make the climb, and two hydraulically actuated snowblower attachments at both ends of the machine to clear the path. The snowblower's attachment has been specially designed to cut through notoriously hard wind-compacted snow using steel serrated turbines.
These turbines are powered by a 400 horsepower motor, which sits right behind the turbine. It's used that much power because that we can cut through really hard snow and ice. Because of the strong winds up here, we have very compressed snow, which makes it hard to cut through. It's almost like concrete. That's why we have these edges and tooths on the turbines.
With a throwing range of over 100 feet, snow is cut up and fed through the turbines up into the blower chutes using electrically powered radial fans.
This section is the wheels from the turbine, which cuts the snow and blow it up through the chimneys.
The turbines, each coupled to a chute, can be hydraulically lifted and separated, allowing the unit to clear wide corners and fit narrow tunnels along the pass.
The snowblower has two chutes, which are 180 degrees movable.
It's a uniquely capable piece of snow fighting equipment and crucial to Jungfrau's rail operations.
In the wintertime, almost every day, you need the snowblower in the morning from 5 to 7 to clean up the track that you can start operating your business at 8.
The snowblower and its operators are undoubtedly up to the task.
One moment.
Mechanic and operator Hans Roethlisberger has worked this mountain for 26 years, and while the machinery used to maintain the railroad might change, Hans' passion for the work does not.
Stieffahrtstelle, every day is different and it's always a little adventure because the weather conditions change so fast here in the Alps.
Operating the snowblower requires years of experience. Hans and his partner Luis are ready to expect the unexpected.
If we have a lot of snow and if we have wind, we have to go up and down every half hour. The snow can put the train out of the track. And then we have a big problem. It's too dangerous. It's dangerous for the train.
The Jungfrau snowblower is a game changer in the Bernese Alps, but operating this beast can be a difficult task.
If we drive too fast, the snowblower says it's too much power and stop his work.
Raging through the mountains of the Swiss Alps is the steadfast chug of the Jungfrau snowblower, part of the winter railway operations that keep locals connected and give scientists the year-round opportunity to work at the Sphinx Observatory. As the morning shift begins in Jungfrau, the weather is looking favorable, but things can change in a minute up in the Alps. So Hans and Luis keep their eyes on the clock and the conditions. Service must be ready to start by 8 a.m.
If the conditions are good, we have 10 minutes from Kleiner Scheideck to Eiger Gletscher. If the conditions are really bad, if we make mistakes, maybe it's closed the whole day.
While Hans and Luis get the lines clear in time for morning service, they're in constant communication, each handling a different component of the machine. Hans operates the locomotive. Luis is on snow clearing duty.
Luis has to control his instruments. If we drive too fast, the snowblower says it's too much power and stop his work. And then everything is really full with extremely hard snow.
But taking on the slopes with gradients of up to 25% is no easy task. For maximum efficiency, it is uniquely powered by three-phase electric hydropower from local glacier reserves.
On the top you see these two power lines, these two wires. This is actually the two phases of the three-phase current system. Then the power goes over these two pantographs down to the transformer, which transforms down the voltage to 750 volts. And from there it goes to the motors.
To reach the highest train station in Europe, the Jungfrau snowblower relies on a modern electrical drivetrain, as well as a tried and true cog-rail system called the Strube system, tying in the old with the new.
The cogwheel is directly connected to the motor over a gear and brings the power to this cog track and runs up over these tooths.
The locomotive's cogwheels are a rolled flat-bottom rail with rack teeth machined into the head approximately 3.9 inches apart. To get things rolling, incoming voltage travels through the locomotive's drivetrain, which is made up of a dry traction transformer that uses air for cooling, and a compact power converter which acts as an accelerator and brake. The electricity is then fed to the locomotive's two 400 horsepower electric motors, which power the rack teeth cogwheels. And thanks to the Strube system, by design, the cogwheels are near impermeable to ice and snow.
Snow is not an issue with this, as there is on both sides of the track, there is some space, so the cogs will push out the snow from the track.
Narrow railways, hydroelectric towers, ice, snow, and incredible winds are just some of the challenges taken on by this snow-fighting team.
You have to know a lot about the track, about the power line, about the machine. You have to be always sharp.
Having made the near 5,000-foot climb, The snowblowing team wraps up their shift.
It's finished. The train starts on Kleine Scheideck. It's going to be busy and busy.
Next stop, Kleine Scheideck.
Tourists, scientists, and workers line up to board the first train of the day, knowing it will be a smooth and safe journey, thanks to this mighty mountain machine.
It's a very important machine, the snowblower. A very important machine. Without that machine, we don't drive. Maybe the most important machine, yeah.
Hans and Louise return the Jungfrau snowblower back to the shed to remain on standby. When Mother Nature calls, this extreme ice machine will be ready to keep Jungfrau connected and the conservatory's doors open for study.
It's the hero in wintertime. It's our hero.
The CH-149 Cormorant, the Nodwell 240, and the Jungfrau snowblower. 3 extreme ice machines that help make life and work in the north possible.
This is what I got into the military to do, and I was fortunate that I was able to do it. I take the heroes to where they need to go, and I get them home safely.
And I've been lucky enough in my career. I've been here 18 years with the Cormorant, all with 413. Saving lives with the air crew. Man, you can't have a better feeling than that.
We can go anywhere over Muskeg and over anything. Pretty high flotation, so we won't sink anywhere. It'll handle any kind of weather.
The 240 Nodwell is important for the future of Beaver First Nation because it's just the first piece of equipment that we're purchasing to build our capacity as a firefighting community. We want to be known as a firefighting community, and we want to be sure that the equipment is up to task. We plan to use it for many more years to come.
You have to know a lot about the track, about the power line, about the machine. You have to be always sharp. It's a very important machine, the snowblower. Without that machine, we don't drive. Maybe the most important machine, yeah.
In the frozen landscape of the north, the climate is an ever-present danger. Whether it's airborne military efforts over Arctic seas, defending native lands from the fury of wildfires, or keeping science accessible in the Swiss Alps, human survival has come to depend on these extreme ice machines.